Hey, welcome to another episode of Open Minded Conversations, where we talk about logical conversations, current events, just common, you know, conversations that we should have, you know, honest conversations. Uh, Hopefully, I have more interviews on this channel. If you go back, I had, a series called Truth About, religion. I had people, from different beliefs. One person, really didn't, really get into Christianity. The other ones, they grew up in Christianity. Like I have. I have grown up, in Christianity as well. Um, so, we're gonna get into this truth about holidays. I've been doing this truth about holidays series, and we're gonna get into this one. This is a very uh, interesting one. Uh, I want to start off, with a scripture. Uh, the Bible says those that worship Him, meaning God, worship Him in spirit and in truth. And over time, over years of my life, uh, I don't know. It just comes out of nowhere. People have approached me about Christmas. Whether it be friends, family, uh, just people I come in contact with. The internet, YouTube. Just this thing, kept coming back to me. People approach me to me. It's crazy how people approach me about certain situations, certain topics, mostly religious, biblical topics. And so this is a deep one. I want to take my time with this one. Uh, People often ask me, do I celebrate Christmas? Uh, Now, currently I don't really get into Christmas. As I've been grown up in, as far as Christmas traditions and, holiday celebrations and stuff like that. I don't really get into it because, you know, sometimes once you learn the truth about things, it's hard for you to go back to your old way of thinking about things. And before I start this, I don't want to sound like a Scrooge about, Christmas. If you don't want to hear the truth about or the origins about Christmas, you don't have to watch this video. But this video is for those who want you to gain more knowledge about things. Who want, they don't mind hearing, new things, new knowledge, new wisdom about certain situations pertaining Christmas. We always say, it's for the kids. As far as, as far as Santa Claus, uh, you know, we know that Santa Claus isn't real. And a lot of parents are afraid to tell their children the truth because they don't want to ruin that, imagination for the kids. And I'm not judgmental about that. When I was young, even though I knew that Santa Claus wasn't really, wasn't real, I still, woke up on Christmas morning real early thinking I'm hearing, Santa on the roof, or, we leave out cookies and stuff, thinking Santa, is going to come to eat the cookies, knowing that, my dad was probably down there eating the cookies and stuff like that. You hearing, things downstairs. You think you're hearing things downstairs like Santa came. So you don't want to get out your room to spoil the Christmas, the magic of Christmas. And so, it's a lot of things, the Christmas tree, you're seeing it decorated with stockings but all these things, the Christmas tree, the stockings, Santa Claus, Christmas lights, presents. All these things have origins to it, and a lot of people are afraid to face the truth about these holidays. And so I really want to take my time with this holiday that we call Christmas. Christians, we believe, most Christians believe that, we should celebrate Jesus' birthday on, December 25th. The Bible doesn't really say that, we should set aside a day for his birthday, but people still, believe that we should set aside a day. And a lot of people are open to the knowledge. We have holy days that we set aside for, commemorating, the things that Jesus did while he was on earth. Jesus did acknowledge the holy days when he was on earth. Around this time, the Hebrew faith, they celebrate what you call Feast of the Dedication. And that shows in, the book of John, I believe, that Jesus was sitting on the porch of Solomon as they was observing the Feast of the Dedication. If you read about the Maccabee family, that's when, they fought, the Greeks and Alexander the Great, all those people. And, the other nations, they destroyed the temple of the Jews. And the candle, stayed lit for, so many days, and that's how we get the menorah, which is as well Hanukkah. That's where Hanukkah comes from. The candles stayed lit for, I believe, 8 days. And so, we celebrate Hanukkah. And so, I just want to open up people's minds, because some people, especially Christians, they have a closed ear to, those things, and it's in the Bible that we should believe and we should follow. And that's another subject about Old Testament and New Testament. I personally believe, they connect more than what, the modern day Christian believes. I think they all connect. And it's history. The Bible is a book of history, a history of a certain people, history of Hebrews, history of Israelites, throughout the whole Bible, and so, the history of Christmas, I'm gonna get to the history of Christmas, as this article says on history.com. Christmas is celebrated on December 25th, and it's both a sacred religious holiday and a worldwide cultural and commercial phenomenon. For 2 millennia, people around the world has been observing it with traditions and practices that are both religious and secular in nature. The religious side, people say, Jesus was born on the 25th. But, from the Bible, we see that Jesus may have been born during Passover, which is around the spring, but we observe it. And it's a reason why, we observe it in the winter instead of the spring. It's a reason why we celebrate New Year's Day in the winter instead of the spring. And it makes more sense to celebrate the New Year's during the spring. That's when things grow, plants grow, crops will grow again during the spring. But, that's for a later subject. I'm going to talk about New Year's Day later on. And so, moving on, Christians celebrate Christmas Day. It's the anniversary of the birth of Jesus of Nazareth. I honestly, throughout these biblical times, uh, honestly, they didn't celebrate birthdays. Uh, the celebration of birthdays actually came from Greeks. The Greeks, uh, Hebrews, and Jews were forced, to celebrate the birth of the king. And that's where we get the birthday cake, the candles, the little hat you wear, during birthdays. When you blow and make a wish. All these things, have that we celebrate in America and throughout the world comes from Greek and Roman traditions. And so, if you didn't know that, it's some new knowledge for you to know. And so, Jesus of Nazareth, a spiritual leader whose teaching formed the basics of their religion. Popular customs includes exchanging gifts, decorating Christmas trees, attend church, sharing meals with family and friends, and of course, waiting for Santa Claus to arrive. December 25th, Christmas Day, has been a federal holiday in the United States since 1870. If you look at history, around the late 1700s, I believe, Christmas was banned because of its pagan origins. A lot of Christians, I forgot what group it was, and if you know it, please feel free to leave a comment. They banned Christmas because, and as I know now, it combines pagan traditions and religious, and you can't, like they said, you can't combine hot and cold. You either hot or cold, and and I believe that with Christmas, as we look back, at the history of Christmas, it actually comes from a holiday called Saturnalia, and that came before Christmas. But before that, let's get into the winter solstice. In the middle of the winter has long been a time of celebration around the world, centuries before the arrival of the man called Jesus. Early Europeans celebrated light and birth in the darkest days of winter. And so, that's what winter solstice, it was the darkest days of winter. Many people rejoiced during the winter solstice. When the worst of the summer was behind them, they looked forward to longer days and extended hours of sunlight. The Scandinavia, the Norse, celebrated Yule. Even if you look on YouTube, you can see, people talking about how you celebrate Yule, how as a modern witch, how you celebrate Yule, and a lot of these things that they celebrated in, Yule or winter solstice is a lot of traditions that we, those that celebrate Christmas, we doing Christmas, the Christmas tree, the Yule, the mistletoe, all those have pagan origins, as far as, witches and stuff like that. They celebrated those things. In Germany, people honored the pagan god Odin during the midwinter holiday. Germans were terrified of Odin, as they believed he made nocturnal flights through the sky to observe his people. Sound kind of like Santa Claus to me. And so let's get to Saturnalia. In Rome, where winters were not as harsh as those in the far north, Saturnalia, a holiday in honor of Saturn. And also, you can see more information in this book called The Two Babylons. They talk about this stuff as well. A holiday in honor of Saturn, the god of agriculture, was celebrated beginning in the week leading up to the winter solstice and continuing for a month. Saturnalia was a heathenistic, and so heathenistic, it was a festival that was outside of Christianity, outside of religious faith. It was celebrated by those who didn't actually believe in God. They was outside of the faith when they say heathenistic. And so when food and drink were plentiful and the normal Roman social order was turned upside down. For a month, enslaved people were given temporary freedom. And also this happened during slavery time. African Americans during this time, they could be free. They can get together, slaves. Businesses and schools were closed so that everyone could participate in the holidays activity. And so also around the time of winter solstice, Romans observed Juvenalia, a feast honoring the children of Rome. In addition, members of the upper class often celebrated the birthday of Mitra, the god of the unconquerable sun, on December 25th. It was believed Mitra, an infant god, was born of a rock. For some Romans, Mitra's birthday was the most sacred day of the year. And so let me get into this. Let me explain this. Like I said, that in Rome, they celebrated Saturnalia. Even before that, if you look at Genesis, I believe 10 or 11, they talk about a man named Nimrod. This man named Nimrod, he tried to take over. They built the Tower of Babel, trying to build it up to heaven, and God confounded their language into different languages. But anyways, Nimrod was killed, and his wife Semiramis, which is later Ishtar, where we get Easter from, and we get into that later on. It believed that Nimrod died and his spirit came back as the sun god, Tammuz, and it believed that his blood was on the the stump of a evergreen tree or palm tree. So back then they had palm trees in certain places, and so they believe it reincarnated into a tree, his body or whatever. And so that's where the Christmas tree come from. When you put the lights and you put all these things, it's like a altar for Tammuz. And so people don't know those things. People don't bother to study those things, or they hear it and they're like, oh, I don't care. But if you think about it, what do a Christmas tree have to do with Jesus Christ? And so I'm gonna read this scripture. It's in Jeremiah 10, and people believe, some people, they read this, it's like, this don't have to do, it don't say Christmas, but if we look at the Bible, it's history. And so when history evolves, things change, but still history is history. And these are origins. And so Jeremiah was a prophet. God told him to go certain places. If we read the Bible, Jeremiah, he said he was born into this, from, birth, that he's born to be a prophet. And so if we look at Jeremiah 10, 1-5, it says, hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen. Heathen was people that was outside of the, I believe, the Abrahamic faith, outside of, the Hebrew or, Hebrew lineage. And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the custom of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest with the work of the hands of the workmen. And it says, with the axe, they deck it with silver and with gold. And so, you think of, those songs we sang during Christmas, silver and gold, silver, it connects, they deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it. And so, what we do during Christmas, sometimes now we got these artificial evergreen trees. So back then, and I'm going to read further. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers that it move not. They are upright as the palm tree. And so back then, during Babylonian times, they used palm trees. They didn't use evergreen trees like we use now. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them. So he's saying, Jeremiah is saying, be not afraid of them, because they believe that this is the reincarnation of Nimrod, reincarnation of the certain gods. Each country, or Egypt had a god, Greek had a god, Rome had a god, and all these different gods. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good. And so, Jeremiah is warning us even back then, do not practice these things. Don't practice these acts. Taking a tree and putting it in your house or putting it anywhere. A lot of churches now, they even putting, they putting Christmas trees in their church. They putting Christmas trees, and at my house, I don't put Christmas trees up. I used to, and it's hard to, like I said earlier, it's hard to go back to those things, those practices, when you know the truth behind it. It's kind of like when you say you used to play the game in school where people tell you, you say something in somebody's ear, and the next person got to say it in that next person's ear, and then it goes down the line, and then by the end of the line, you hear a different sentence from what you heard at the beginning. That's kind of like with these holidays like Christmas. We've heard different things. We heard it's it's not important. These origins, that is, now it's about Jesus. And we got to realize that these things come from polytheism, and if we have the Abrahamic faith, we are monotheistic. That means that we believe in one God. And polytheism, these things that Christmas talks about is polytheism. That's belief in multiple gods, and so more than one God. And so I'm gonna also play this clip, because sometimes if we don't believe things until we hear other people, I'm gonna just say, we hear other people that's very well endowed, wealthy, or have a big place in the public eye. And may he rest in peace, Pat Robertson. But he talks about the origins of Christmas. And if you don't believe me, listen to what he has to say about Christmas. And so we're gonna get to it. About to play the clip right now.
Who says, we have friends who do not celebrate Christmas because they say December 25th is really a pagan holiday. While I agree that Jesus may not have been born on December 25th, he certainly was born as described in the Bible. How do I respond to them?
Well, in a sense, tell them they're right. You see,
So he answered the question honestly. So let's go back after she read the article.
Respond to them.
well, in a
Was born as described in the Bible. How do I respond to them?
well, in a sense, tell them they're right.
See, he said, they're right. It is pagan. It is pagan.
You see, the winter solstice a couple of days later was the shortest day of the year, and the pagans had something called Saturnalia. And it was a time of lawlessness because all the laws were suspended, and people, a bunch of singers were actually wandered the streets naked singing, and then they had orgies.
Yeah, and so during that time, during Saturnalia, they did, if you see the history of Rome, think of, Caligula, all those different rulers of Rome, heads of Rome, going back to, around the time of Council of Nicaea, and that's another subject of the origin of Christianity as we know it today. They did these types of, things, and
Sexual they had orgies, sexual orgies. It was a mass thing. Well, when the Catholic Church came along in Italy, the Romans and others didn't want to give up their holidays, so they said, okay, we'll Christianize it. And so they said, okay.
And so, what he's explaining is, they had Saturnalia, and then, a lot of these people that converted to Christianity, they was like, no, we don't want to celebrate these things. And so Constantine and those who was rulers, they combined the practices of Saturnalia with the Christian faith, and that's when they come up with, let's replace these Saturn, god of Saturn, with Jesus Christ. Let's celebrate Jesus Christ. And so, but they still kept some of the traditions. They still kept some of the traditional practices that that the Roman pagans did during their celebrations.
Okay, we'll say the birth of Jesus was the 25th of December.
Yeah.
And
so they just placed it that December 25th was the birth of Jesus. That's what he basically saying.
And then there was a monk who began to add it up. You see, if you read in Luke, it says there's a census taken when Quirinius was governor and so forth and so on. And they could take those leaders and figure the exact time dating from the foundation of Rome. And that's when the dates were established. And so,
basically, and I won't go and play the whole clip, but basically he's saying that, the person who, was concerned about, a friend not celebrating Christmas, that they are right. It does come from, pagan origins. Saturnalia, which, like I mentioned earlier, they celebrate in Rome in celebration of the god of Saturn. But if, other places, they still had the same rituals as those things, and so sometimes a lot of people they hate to hear the truth. They're so a lot of people get caught up in tradition, and their parents did it, their grandma did it, and it's hard to hear the truth. I'm not gonna front and say it was easy to stop doing those things during Christmas. And it was hard. You love seeing the Christmas lights. You love seeing the Christmas tree. Even Santa, going to different things, Christmas celebrations and stuff like that. But once when you hear the truth, it's hard to go back. It's hard to go back. And so if you enjoyed this video, leave a comment. Just leave a comment, whether it's, you disagree or agree. I want to hear your opinions on Christmas. You know, like I said, it was tough for me to hear these truths about Christmas. I love Christmas. It's my favorite time of the year. Hang, go to family's house, eating, everything, opening presents. But, this thing kept coming to me, throughout my life about Christmas and the origins of Christmas. And I can go even deeper in more detail, but I just want to give you a deep synopsis of, the origins of Christmas, and, make you think, and decide, if you want to still celebrate Christmas. This is not a thing, to scorn people because they celebrate Christmas. I've heard it, even before I really stopped doing, those things. It was like, how can you tell me not to put, people tell me, oh, you shouldn't put up a Christmas tree. And, I was like, how you going to tell me what to put in my house? I was like that. But over time, I had to study and research this thing for myself, not only the Bible, but study sources, study things, about the history and origin, and a lot of things lined up, and, the basic questions, where did the Christmas tree come from? What did the Christmas tree have to do with Jesus? What do Christmas lights have to do with Jesus? What does the Yule log has to do with Jesus? What does the mistletoe? Because in other countries, they treated Christmas differently. I know one particular country, I believe in Europe, they used to have people dress up in black paint, like slaves, but in America is elves, they call Black Pete. And they had, instead of Santa Claus, they called him Santa Claus in, other countries. And so, you never know how, other countries celebrate Christmas, celebrate these traditional things. Even looking at clips of witches, they were celebrating Yule, and they was doing all the same exact things that we do in Christmas, lighting candles, taking the tree from the forest, decking it with silver and gold, doing all these rituals, sacrifices and things like that, And so I just want to open people's eyes. Like I said, I don't want to be like a Scrooge. I don't want y'all to see me as a Scrooge, but see me as something, see me as somebody that wants to give you knowledge, give you understanding of these things. And so appreciate y'all for tuning in. Leave a comment, and I appreciate y'all for watching Open-Minded Conversations. Appreciate y'all's support. Please subscribe to my channel so you'll be updated on my latest content. Also press the notification button so you'll be updated on all my content. All right, appreciate you, and until next time, all right, peace.